there was probably a rumor in every town.
Yeah, they wanted to be part of it.
They wanted to be part of it. I mean, that's sick.
Who would want to be
What was
part
the
of it?
rumor again?
You know that the rumor was that the
Who's they?
they
Who is they?
the hijackers, the guys who flew the planes into the towers.
Okay, the hijackers. Okay.
They came from somewhere else. They had to pass through.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia. They came from.
Yeah, and they they had to drive through Kaiser's Ridge, and they stopped at Kaiser's Ridge, and they bought box cutters. But what were the box cutters for?
That's how they took over the planes because it wasn't, at that time security was pretty lax. You could take you could take your shampoo and your nail clipper and your shoes onto the plane still.
Yeah, well.
And they took box cutters.
That
they were that they used for work or something.
Yeah.
And then they used those.
That was rampant. That rumor, and I was like, I just laughed when they said it because I said, oh my God, Kaiser's Ridge isn't even a town. Like, give me a break. It's just an area.
I mean, but you could still buy box cutters there. I mean, it's just it's a great rumor. It's a great every small town probably had some kind of.
And then a lady that was cutting my hair said, well, did you hear about the Arab guys who were in Salisbury that day? And I said, wait a minute, what do you mean? And she said, yeah, these guys with head turbans went into the pizza parlor. And I said, yeah, and what'd they do? She goes, they ordered pizza. And I was like,
a vast conspiracy.
Oh my God. So what? They were hungry. And they were Arabic people, Muslim people.
Yeah, well, that was the beginning of.
Yeah. Everybody wanted to be.
Heavy Islamophobia shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it was already here because of the first Twin Tower attempt and the years and years of just boogeyman.
But I mean, Muslim people. I mean, this place was completely alien. I mean, to Islamic people. They just had nobody around here knew people who were Arabic.
Oh, fuck no.
It was just
It's real easy to turn people and demonize them,
Yeah, it is because.
I mean, it's just terrorism, exposed to America when we were, pretty isolated from that type of thing. They kind of brought it home to roost or whatever.
Right.
A little bit of blowback, as they call it.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to demonize the whole of Islam if you're not exposed to it at all,
Right.
They bought the box cutters down there at the Walmart.
Did you heard it was the Walmart? I heard it was Kaiser's Ridge.
I don't know. I just made it up. But I think the point here is that they know that the box cutters were bought at Kaiser's Ridge, but they don't know what country those people came from.
Yeah.
And they don't care. One of those shithole countries, as Trump would say.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that, it's the country that's, so heavily invested in, America. And, we have, $100 million weapons contracts with and, are literally at war with... Not at war with, but, we're assisting their war in Yemen, essentially. And it's wait, if the average American knew that the country where 16 of those 19 guys were supposedly from was the country that, we have weapons contracts with and literally are engaged in, a siege war with, would they be outraged, or would it just be, some sort of cognitive dissonance? You don't think they'd be outraged?
I think, well...
it's one of our allies, quote-unquote, that 16 of those 19 guys were... nobody knows that, I mean, people know, but it's just not, a thing.
Right.
Nobody makes a big deal about it.
But we should have... It should be a big deal.
I mean, if Iran had been 16 of the 19 guys, they would have been long since invaded.
Yeah.
And bombed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But since it's the oil, princes,
Yeah, they got to be careful.
yeah, it's
Well, why did George Bush have the Saudi prince that night of 9/11? That's I always
yeah.
under.
Every airport was closed. It was everything was grounded. The whole country was stopped, standstill, and they flew like yeah.
But they had dinner at the White House that night.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the flying the relatives, like the Saudi relatives of the Bin Laden family out of the United States. It was like the
Yeah,
only airplane that flew that day.
yeah. But then why were those guys at the White House that day for dinner?
I mean, Bandar Bush is what they called his dad. Like it's they're joined at the hip. The Texas oil guys and the
The Saudis?
Saudis. Yeah. There's a artist named Mark Lombardi that drew these like crazy.
That's a robin.
This guy Mark Lombardi drew these crazy drawings. Like he'd write like George H.W. Bush's name, and then like whatever Saudi royalty he was connected to, and then the bank where they both had their accounts at, and how they like exchanged money through the specific bank that was friendly to like the Saudis and the CIA and that kind of thing. And then he would draw lines in between the bank and the royal and the Bush, and it would create this like web. And then he would do it with another person and like draw their banking and their like intelligence connections or whatever. And then like all these like different webs would connect to each other and these lines. And then when you step back from it, it just kind of looked like this big like I don't know, like a spider's web or like a dream catcher kind of thing. And it was just like an abstract like little circles with a name written in the middle, connected by lines connected to other lines. But in every circle is like, and he did a drawing in 98 or 99, I think, which is not that impressive because the first World Trade Center thing had already happened. But he connected H.W. Bush and Osama bin Laden, one of the little circles between the two of them, and a bank that the bin Laden family, because they're so close to the Bushes. Like the bin Ladens are like the Bushes of Saudi Arabia, basically, which is crazy. But this guy in 99 drew this diagram that connected the two of them. It's just crazy to think. So Mark Lombardi was an artist, and he failed, and then he started doing these diagrams, and he had all the names on little postcards. And then once he had all the postcards assembled, he would like lay them out on the floor and then do the drawing connecting the different postcards, basically. And when he finally got famous, he MoMA had bought a bunch of his paintings. PS1 has a couple of them. He hung himself in his Williamsburg studio, and the feds showed up at his studio looking for all the cards, because when they saw his work and they saw the connections that he had made between the banks and the intelligence and the mafia and the church and politicians, they were like, oh, we want to see this guy's files, like we want to see his research. So they came and they confiscated like some crazy number. I was like 30,000 postcards with information from his research or whatever. Yeah.
That was after he died?
After he died, the feds showed up, yeah. It's very just like insidious, for a guy that like was making those kind of connections to like hang himself at the height of his success after like 40 years of failure in the art world. You finally make it, and then just like it's just very insidious. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm just saying, it's a insane story.
What's his name?
Mark Lombardi. Sounds familiar, right?
Well, my friend Dawn, her maiden name is Lombardo.
Oh my God.
No, it can't be. Went completely.
Wait, where? Where were you?
I was teaching art at Grantsville Elementary School, and the 4th grade had just come into the classroom, and the teacher was leaving because I was going to have his class, and he said to me, a bomb just went off at the Twin Towers in Manhattan. And I said, what? And then he came back a few minutes later. He says, we have the TV on up in the library. He said, actually, the second tower got hit. It was an airplane. It wasn't a bomb. And I went back to the classroom. I didn't leave the classroom, but I was standing at the door. And I turned around and all the lights went off in the school at the same time. And so my classroom was completely black. And I wondered if I should make the kids get under the tables the way they made us get under our desks in the 50s in New Jersey.
Yeah, the collective
Yeah,
trauma of
Yeah.
Soviet
yeah,
annihilation.
yeah. And I had my cell phone, and cell phones were kind of new by that. My son had just gone to college, and so right away I called him when the lights went out in Grantsville, and actually it was not the whole town, but there were other places in town where they had power outages, and I thought, oh God, if they're attacking Grantsville, Maryland, what are they doing to Columbus, which is where he was in college? And he didn't answer his cell phone. And I really got scared. And I tried to find his teacher, who was up in the library looking at the TV. And
The power's out though.
the power was out. They had a generator to run the TV.
So you're saying no one in Grantsville?
They never talked about that.
Who never, like people in
I mean, the
Grantsville?
faculty. Then we found out that this plane had crashed. Flight 93 it was, in Pennsylvania. Our school was like 6 miles from Pennsylvania. If you go straight up the highway by my house,
What highway is it?
219 North, and it goes straight to Somerset County, where the plane that was headed towards the where they were trying to get it to go to the Pentagon. That the guys, they did a movie about it where they tackled the hijackers, and the plane crashed. Flight 93.
Yeah, let's roll.
Let's roll, yeah. And it was like 30 miles north of us. And I've always wondered if that upset the power grid or something in Grantsville.
So let me ask you a question about cell phones at that time. You had like one of those old brick Nokia cell phones, right?
Yeah, it was a flip phone.
If you had taken that on a flight at that time, would you have been able to use that in the air as the airplane was flying?
Good question. I always assumed that we wouldn't have been allowed to back in the day. I don't know.
Allowed to, or was it possible with the phone at the time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there were people who were using phones saying goodbye to their family members.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying it seems, when I heard that, it seems strange to me, because even now, I don't think if I pulled out my iPhone at 35,000 feet, I would be able to use it to call you and say, Mom, I love you, the plane's been hijacked. I
don't know.
I don't think you can do that now. Right?
Yeah, so what do you...
But
yeah.
there were in-air calls
People who
on the
were
back of...
Yeah.
No, I'm saying there were phones on the back of, like, the seat sometime, and you could use your credit card to call.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if those people were using their cell phones or...
Those phones on the seat?
Or the phones on the seat. I think... Yeah, I don't know how that works exactly. But I always thought that sounded like strange to me, that those, those calls were made, and I was like, I don't understand how that's possible. But I guess seeing the pictures of like in-air, like cord phones on the back of seats, like kind of explains it. I don't know. But cell phones still wouldn't work, I don't think, right?
I don't know. I've never understood all that.
Have you ever talked to anyone about how the lights went off in Grantsville and asked them, like, why? Or if they remember that or anything?
No, that wouldn't be hard to do. I could talk to my fellow teachers, even though I'm retired, there are still teachers there that.
What would they think if you called up, Pam Troutline right now and said, like, Pam, do you remember the morning of 9/11? If the power went out, she would think you're on some crazy pills.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Appalachia, so crazy pills are kind of like their thing now. You know.
Yeah.
How late? How long was the power out?
Probably. I mean, people started driving to it wasn't the whole area, because people started to come to the school and call the school and say, I'm coming to get my kid. I'm coming to get my kid. I mean, many parents came and got their kids out of school that day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So they had TV they were watching. And I know I came home from school that day. I don't know. It was off maybe an hour.
Yeah.
But that's. Then I came home. I know I came home and watched TV at home. And certainly my house was closer to Pennsylvania than the school is.
Did you see anything on the road?
No. I don't remember. By that time, the lights had come back on at the school. And they said, oh, I said something to people. And they said, oh, like the janitor, I said, why did the lights go off? I thought the whole town was under attack. He said that was just a coincidence, just a coincidence. And I said something to, I think, my dentist that day. And he said, oh, it was just, anybody that I asked said, oh, it was just a coincidence. There was no connection. And I thought it was too weird.
I mean, yeah, it sounds causation, correlation, coincidence. It's all, I don't know. Like, just because the power went off doesn't mean it's connected, but it seems strange. And then, like, you experience it emotionally as, like, oh no, we're under attack.
Yeah, Grantsville school population 783.
Well, the fact that
how could that be?
The fact that Flight 93 crashed like 10 minutes from here also is just like, what is going on in Appalachia?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I always thought. Oh my goodness. Yeah, who would attack Grantsville, Maryland? And why?